Am I the a-hole for refusing to give up my Airbnb? I, 30 male, am in the wedding party for my cousin's wedding, about a 4-hour drive away, in a little over a week. As soon as I was asked, I booked the Airbnb for me, my wife and our daughter. We found out about some health issues with my FIL this week, and after a long discussion, we decided my wife and daughter would stay home and help him recover, and I would still go to the wedding instead of dropping out as a groomsman last minute. Still not sure who told my sister, 25, about the change in plans, but within a day she's calling me telling, not asking, me that I should give my Airbnb reservation to her, her BF, and their 2 kids because they need the space of 2 bedrooms, and since it's just going to be me, wouldn't I be more comfortable in a hotel room? As much as I was looking forward to some peace and quiet to myself for a couple days, the people pleaser in me won out, and hey, pool, bar/restaurant downstairs, and housekeeping didn't sound too bad. Plus, I would be busy with wedding stuff most of the weekend anyways. So I offered, just pay for the cost difference between their hotel room and the Airbnb. No response. An hour later, my mom calls. Why am I being unreasonable? Don't I know that my sister is having financial difficulties? The $250 difference isn't going to make or break me. I stood firm and said they had 8 months' notice for the wedding, they could have saved up for an Airbnb too. But no. I'm the bad guy and family needs to look out for each other, and why can't I make this small sacrifice? I know I don't need all the space of a cabin to myself, but it's not my fault you booked a hotel room with 4 people. Do I stay firm and say no? Do I offer a payment plan for the difference? Not sure I trust her to actually pay me back anyway. I'm tempted to even say Merry Christmas and Happy Birthday to all 4 of you, don't ask for anything for a while. Am I the a-hole for not cooking breakfast? Okay, so me 32, male, fiancé 29, female, have lived together for around 7 years. I would say our relationship is normal and we have very rarely argued. We have always both worked. Until recent. We have 2 dogs who require a lot of exercise. I am the only one who drives, so I do all the shopping. My partner lost her job and is trying to start a photography business. I helped set up a website, give her lifts whenever she wants at the drop of a hat. Around 1 month ago I told her with her not working I would expect a clean house, her to make sure the dogs get the morning walk so that my day is less demanding since I am now in my free time running taxi etc. to help her with shoots. I am also working more hours than I used to do that her loss of income is covered. This came after I worked around 100 overtime hours plus was pretty much on the verge of a breakdown after she requested I made her breakfast on my first day off in around 1.5 months. Fast forward to today and she has done the exact same thing. She got paid for a photo shoot. I am a little tight for cash this month, so she sent me £50 to sort breakfast. Expect me to cook it and run after her. Now bear in mind I have run a course at work this week, am currently full of the flu. Now she left the house for around 6 hours to go to her studio via bus. I said I would take her, left without saying goodbye, has returned and is refusing to speak to me other than her telling me snidely that she is making breakfast. Now I want to be absolutely clear, I am not expecting her to be a housewife and to cater to my every need. I cook most evenings after work. I take my turn in doing chores, being and engineer anything that needs fixed is my remit. All I ask is help from her. Am I the a-hole for telling my friend she's in the same league as men she calls ugly? Sucks. My friend, 19 female, downloaded dating apps like Tinder and Hinge for the first time about a week ago. For reference, she's the type that always says she wants a boyfriend, wants to do couple things, feels lonely single, etc. She's also, emo at least, very normal and average looks-wise, not ugly, not super hot, just alright. Since then, she's been complaining to me that almost all the men there are ugly, short, etc., and that she doesn't match with anybody hot. I asked to see which people she was calling ugly and so she showed me her likes, and it mostly showed people perfectly in her league, as in moderately attractive guys. I told her that these guys were all in her league and she should give some of them a chance since she always complains about wanting to be in a relationship. She denied that she's the same league as them and said that she's much more attractive than them. I pointed out that in her own words, she doesn't match with any of the guys she does find attractive, so she's not in their league. She said I was in a hole. Am I? Am I the a-hole for expecting my husband to parent while being sick? I feel really silly posting this because I've never posted anything like this before. Me and my husband are both 25 and have a 2.5-year-old. Married 5 years. My husband got sick with a cold yesterday and so today he stayed home from work. I usually handle all the parenting and house chores, at least most, during the day so it wasn't hard to leave him alone to rest in the morning. He played some video games and laid in bed the whole time. By afternoon, I logged into work so I let my toddler run around the house, in our room, wherever. I wasn't really paying attention since she was fed and happy and my husband was downstairs while I was upstairs in my office. As dinner time rolled around, I logged off and made dinner. He still was laying around, which was fine because he is sick. After dinner, I went to his parents with my daughter just to drop off some things and help out my mother-in-law for an hour. When I told her my husband was sick, she gave me a bunch of food for him and kept asking if I gave him medicine, and that's only then when I began to get a little irritated. I got home and my daughter was fussy since it was a little past her usual bedtime. The house was a mess, dinner still needed to be cleaned up. I already knew I would need to, but for some reason I just felt so frustrated in the moment. My husband walked out and I just began to clean, letting him deal with our daughter. At first, it took him 20 minutes just to get her into clothes. By then I was finishing up cleaning. He put her in bed without brushing her teeth and I had to remind him to brush her teeth. That's when he started grumbling about how he's sick and he doesn't have energy to handle her when she's fussy. I lost it and almost yelled at him to just brush her teeth and go to bed. He said I was being unreasonably mean. We haven't really talked much after. He brushed her teeth and they both went to sleep right away. I just can't sleep. I'm so frustrated still. When I'm sick, my routine doesn't change. The only thing different is that I either don't work or work half as much hours. When I'm sick, I still do all the house and parenting duties. Am I really the a-hole for expecting him to do parenting duties while sick? Am I the a-hole for refusing to go on a double honeymoon? I, 33 male, used to be married to my best friend Callie, 33 female. I'm gay, she's a lesbian. We grew up in a conservative town in the deep south where coming out wasn't really an option. So when we were 20, we got married. It was a way to avoid questions and stay safe. We moved out of state a few years later, got divorced soon after. There was no drama, we were always just friends, and we've stayed close. We still hang out regularly. I recently married my husband, Miguel, 30 male. A couple months later, Callie married her wife, Bree, 34 female. Both weddings were low-key, and while Miguel and Bree aren't close, they're friendly enough when we're all together. A week ago, Callie suggested the four of us take a trip together as a kind of double honeymoon. She thought it would be meaningful since we've known each other for so long and have been through a lot together. She had a couple destinations in mind and said it could be fun to celebrate this new chapter side by side. I told her I appreciated the thought, but Miguel and I weren't really comfortable with that. We're planning a small trip for just the two of us, and we'd rather keep it that way. It's not personal, it's just something we want to experience privately. Callie didn't take it well. She said it felt like I was distancing myself now that I got what I wanted, and brought up how we had each other's backs for years. I told her I didn't mean to hurt her, but I think we're allowed to want our own space as a couple. Now things are a little tense. Bree messaged me to say she gets it, but Callie's upset and feels like I brushed her off. I'm wondering now if I was too blunt or if I should have handled it differently. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to do a double honeymoon? Am I the a-hole for wearing a two-piece bikini to my granddaughter's birthday pool party? My granddaughter Kelsey, 19 female, and I, 67 female, were shopping for her 19th birthday party. After she picked out an outfit for herself, she tried to put an outfit for me. All her suggestions were two-piece bikinis. I gave the obvious answer, but she said her generation, especially those in our state, isn't that judgmental. I wore a two-piece bikini at Kelsey's 19th birthday pool party. I was flattered though I should wear it and I didn't want her to feel she will have to hide herself when she gets older. The party was hosted by Kelsey's mom and my daughter Bridget, 44 female. After the party, Bridget told me it was inappropriate for a woman my age to wear that in front of a bunch of college-aged youngsters. She notable that she herself wore a one-piece instead of a two-piece. Am I the a-hole? Would I be the a-hole if I mentioned my estranged bro divorce to grandma? Would I be the a-hole if I mentioned my brother's divorce to my grandmother to see if she knows about it? My intent is that if she doesn't know about it, it will help her see that there might be more she doesn't know about and she can reconnect with family. Long story short, I'm no contact with my brother, father and mother. I'm in contact with my grandmother and the rest of my extended family. My parents have cut themselves and my brother and grandma off from talking to everyone else in the family. My parents care for my grandmother, and when she calls me it's very clear they lie to her about the past and present. I typically grey rock and just ask her about herself. She goes on and on about my brother and his wife. She often tries to get me to reconcile family. I'm happier with my found family. I recently found out about the divorce and have a feeling that she doesn't know about it. My family is very self-righteous and divorce would be considered a huge deal. I want to mention that it's a bummer and ask how he is coping, but it's also not my business. I just feel tempted that if she doesn't know, maybe it will help her see that other things from the past have been hidden from her. Maybe she will reconnect other family members that she has been cut off from of my parents. Am I the a-hole? Am I the a-hole for no longer wanting to allow my now ex-partner of almost a year to stay at my apartment because she's not currently stable enough to get a place of her own? My ex-GF, 33 female, and I, 31 female, first met in a whirlwind romance in May of 2023. A few months into dating she fell on hard times and I offered to let her stay with me for a few months while she got on her feet. I am an extremely independent person and love living on my own, and having my own space is very important to me, but I really cared for her and wanted to help at the time, especially with the expectation that it would only be a few months. However, a few months has now turned into 2.5 years and we technically broke up almost a year ago. Throughout her time here she's had several jobs, however, the positions were seasonal and or didn't align with her morally, so she quit. When she first arrived I was of course not charging her rent as I was genuinely trying to help her get on her feet. However, after living with me rent-free for almost a year I realized she probably wouldn't have the means to move out on her own anytime soon, so we began to go half on rent and expenses. However, it only lasted maybe 5 months until we officially called it quits and she couldn't afford to pay her half and save up to move out because she's only been able to hold down a part-time position for some time now. So she is still struggling. I feel bad she is in this position still, but my lease for this apartment is up in October and I plan to end it and start my solo journey as I am ready to move on with my life and start anew. However, I am conflicted with what I know I deserve and desire, which is separate lives, and doing what's right. My ex has expressed that her financial instability makes her feel scared for her future. She fears she will end up homeless if I stop carrying the load for her, as she doesn't have any friends and she's not close with her family. She feels like because we are not toxic, have healthy communication and get along for the most part, that she doesn't see why I can't just continue to help her out until she is stable enough to do so on her own. She often gets emotional and upset about the reality of having to figure out her living situation in the next few months and reminds me that if it were her in my shoes she would continue to help her ex for as long as they needed. I can fully understand her fear, but it's been almost 2.5 years of me supporting her and I really need to know if am I the a-hole for no longer wanting to house my now ex-partner of almost a year? Am I the a-hole for preventing my sister from seeing her kids? I, 28 female, live in my grandparents' house, mom's side, while they snowbird and travel. My other grandparents, dad's side, live on the East Coast. My mom and sister live on the West Coast. A little over a year ago my sister lost custody of her 3 kids. They spent a few months separated in foster care before my mom finally got custody last fall. My sister is not allowed to see her kids unless it is a CPS-supervised visit. I haven't seen my nieces in about 4 years. Now my daughter is traveling to the East Coast beginning of July to see that side of the family, and they're all driving back at the end of July and staying with me for a couple weeks. My mom is trying to plan a visit also for the end of July as well, so the East Coast fam can also see the girls since they haven't seen them in about 4 years as well. But before my mom can get plane tickets, she needs CPS approval. My sister got word of these plans and is trying to convince the East Coast fam to pay for her plane ticket so she can sneakily see her kids. But if CPS finds out my sis had any unsupervised visit, my mom will lose custody. So I had to call the East Coast fam to shut that shit down. Now my sister is going crazy blaming me for the reason she can't see her kids. And my grandfather, who owns the house I'm living in, is also calling to yell about how my sister is not allowed in his house. So am I the a-hole for stopping my sister's plans and preventing her from seeing her kids? Am I the a-hole for telling my mom I don't forgive her for choosing her boyfriend over me when I was a kid? When I was 12, my mom started dating a guy who clearly didn't like me. He was always cold, made snide comments, and treated me like I was in the way. I told my mom how uncomfortable I felt, but she always defended him and told me I was exaggerating. Eventually, she stopped picking me up from school if it interfered with his plans. I spent a lot of nights at my aunt's house just to avoid being home. By the time I was 15, I moved in with my dad full-time. My mom barely called or checked in. She married the guy a year later. I wasn't invited to the wedding. I didn't even know it happened until a cousin mentioned it. I stopped trying after that. We went years without speaking, until recently when she reached out saying she wants to rebuild things. We met for coffee, and she started talking like we were just going to pick up where we left off. I told her I can be polite, but I don't forgive her. I said she made her choice back then and it wasn't me. She started crying and said I was being unfair. She said she was trying her best. I said maybe, but your best hurt me. Now she says I'm cold and holding on to the past, and some relatives agree. But I don't feel like she ever took real responsibility. So am I the a-hole for not letting it go? Am I the a-hole for wanting to change my name? Long story short, I was named after my aunt. The story goes as a kid, I was accused of stealing and asking kids for money for my disabled cousin. Which I never would even try since I'm raised well. After this argument, my family split into two sides who rarely talk to each other and absolutely hate each other. These past days, even more shit happened. My grandmother got sick and her back is absolutely killing her. We wanted to call an ambulance because of the fear she might hurt herself by a fall and pass away since she can't even walk. The only response we got from my aunt was, "There's 4 adults in your household, figure something out." I don't want to be associated to this person with anything, that's why I want to change my name. My parents probably won't let me since my name has been passed on from generations. I've expressed my point of changing my name which they clearly didn't like, but I think I'll go through with it anyway once I'm able to. Am I the a-hole for asking my roommate to stop bringing her friends over? So my roommate and I, both 18 female, share a studio apartment with 2 separate beds. I generally have no rules for the room and I'm fine with pretty much anything. The only thing I ask is for her to keep her things on her side and ask if she wants to eat some of my food, use my toiletries, etc. We get along really well and she respects my boundaries just fine. Recently though, she started bringing over a new group of friends in the middle of the night and sometimes they won't leave until like 5 a.m. They're not extremely loud, but they're loud enough to where I can hear their entire conversations while I'm laying in my bed trying to sleep. I could care less about her having these people over, but the only thing that irks me is that I'll check my side of the fridge in the morning and either my unopened food is broken into or my water jug is half empty. Every time this happens I reiterate to my roommate that I don't want my food being eaten by her friends and every time she apologizes and says she can't control what they do and gives me money to buy more food. Today I check her Instagram on a whim and I see that she has photos from a month ago with her friends passed out drunk sleeping in my bed one night that I wasn't at the apartment. I confronted her about it and told her I was pissed off that she didn't tell me that they slept in my bed. She told me I was overreacting and that she washed my sheets for me the morning after. I still felt extremely uncomfortable and told her I didn't want her friends coming over anymore. She got super defensive and told me she's allowed to have friends over in the room we share. Which she's right, but I still feel like she overstepped and making excuses for her friends' behavior. I don't want to seem like I'm being a dictator of the room for controlling who she can and cannot have over. Am I being in a hole?